Guys, in my last video in our Des Moines Spotlight, I talked about the growth of the city from the mid 1800s to the turn of the 19th to the late 1800s, basically, till 1900, uh, because of coal and because of oil and because of alcohol, because of the workers drinking alcohol and barrels and barrels and barrels of it. In fact, at one point, the miners drinking alcohol, the revenue from that outpaced the actual coal mines that they were digging. So that's how the relationship goes far back between the entertainment community and the hardworking miners and oil drillers at the time. But now you've got lawyers doing most of the drinking in town. So, but again, it's the same connection between the entertainment, meaning the bars and the restaurants, and the workers. In the old days, like I said, the miners and the oil workers, but in this case, they're attorneys and sometimes government officials, which a lot of times are the same people. Because once you're an attorney, right, and you realize you hate the law, well, what else is there to do with your law degree? You can't just go, well, I'm going to work at Home Depot. I mean, you could, but you're not using your law degree. But a politician, it's a natural transition from being a lawyer, and then you either get bored or you get jaded or both, and so you decide that, you're going to help the community by becoming a politician, realizing that's not what politicians do. And then then at that point, you realize you've just entered the two industries, law and politics, that are really just based on hot air, and that's your real talent. And once you come to grips with the fact that you are just full of hot air and embrace that, that's when your life starts to take on a new meaning, a new direction. It's kind of like, when you're canoeing and you start out on the side of the river or the creek, and the canoe is moving slowly along with your gentle paddling, but eventually you realize the canoe is picking up speed by itself as it enters the channel of the stream. That's what happens to your life once you embrace the fact that you're a lawyer that went into politics and your main talent in life is being full of hot air. And because you're not denying to yourself that this is your main talent, and you see the value of it in the larger picture of the community. So once that happens, then you realize you've also consumed from law school through your mid 40s, unlimited bottles of Johnny Walker Black. And that if you kept those bottles and filled them with dirt, you could have built a castle behind your house in your backyard. So many bottles. But it's too late. You already recycled them. So now, what happens after 1900? Well, just like many communities, many early industrial communities, the people look around and they say, hey, we're doing fine, but this place is a mess. I mean, think about it. You had coal and oil and alcohol were the main industries. So you had mine shafts everywhere. This is in the city. This isn't like, an Iowa City, which is an hour and a half away or whatever it is. This is right in Des Moines. So you have the mine shafts everywhere. People are falling in them. Dogs are falling in them. Chickens are falling in them. Not to be seen again. You ever heard of a chicken going down a mine shaft when he just realizes he made a mistake? The sound gets farther away as they go down the mine. It's depressing. So then you had oil flowing everywhere, flying all over the place. I mean, you might have put on your Sunday best only to get covered with oil by the time you get to the church. So a lot of communities realized they had to make things more aesthetically beautiful so that life was better. Let's clean up the joint, in other words, is what they said. So they actually did. The Des Moines Women Club started a City Beautiful campaign. And what did they do? They came out with these new buildings and fountains that were constructed beautifully, beautiful fountains along the river. And that's what a lot of cities done. For example, Toledo has really improved their waterfront. And people realize that the waterfront is a key to a satisfactory and enjoyable life in a community because water represents life. All right. And so the Des Moines River is the lifeblood of Des Moines, of course, we all know. So then they put in a new post office and they put it. So in other words, they're making the community more beautiful. And so what are the other things they did? So they would have beauty contests among the general population. So it wasn't a beauty contest like you think of it as just these beautiful people. They had the most beautiful Des Moiner contests, so anybody can enter. And so it was judged on your physical beauty. That's one thing, but also equally weighted by your character, by your graft, which would be the contributions you made to the committee, but everybody knew it was for fun, and that money would go to charities in the area. And then also just your general outlook on life. What have you done to improve the community? What have you done to beautify it? Not improve it so much in this case, but to beautify it. Are you keeping your grass cut? Are you painting your neighbor's home when they can't do it because they've had too many cocktails? Are you, let's say, getting on the bus and using a pencil eraser to erase graffiti on the seat in front of you? Little things like that. That's what they would use. So we're talking about 1901, 1902, 1910, right in that area, okay? And so now you're starting to get public transportation in the area, horse-drawn buggy carts throughout, like taxis that were horse-drawn buggies throughout the downtown. And it's starting to become more of a beautiful city because the planting of trees, the building of those new buildings like the post office that I just described, the beauty contest that involved everybody. I mean, you could be a 75-year-old guy with a gruff voice and talk like this, and then you could enter. Nobody cares. Because then you had to fill out the application accurately. You couldn't fake it. You couldn't say, oh, what I did was I cleaned the streets in a 7-block area of my house by sweeping it up with a broom. And then I would put all this stuff into the back of my pickup and I drove it up to Ames and I dumped it in Ames. No. That means that Des Moines is not a good neighbor to Ames, which is, 20 miles north? So you drove all the junk to Ames? And then you might say, well, no, I drove it to Clear Lake. What? You cleaned up your neighborhood in Des Moines and then you drove it to Clear Lake, Iowa? And dumped it? That's not, you're not going to win the contest doing that, okay? First of all, it's illegal. Don't do that. It's not neighborly. And you're not going to win the most beautiful person in Des Moines contest doing that. Now, they still have this contest today, the world's most beautiful Des Moiner, or just for short, people that say the beautiful Des Moiner, okay? And it's open to people of all ages. You could be 3 years old. You could be 3 years old and walk around. I don't know what you're going to claim as at 3 years old, what you did to beautify the community. Because again, that's the most weighted decision or decision point, okay, on who wins. So if you're 3 years old, what could you do to beautify the community? Well, you could quit writing on the walls of your own house. I mean, who said that you could draw on your walls of your own house and you say, I didn't do it? Well, yeah. Oh, how come then the drawings that look like a 3-year-old's, okay, it's a house that's lopsided and the roof is pointing like that. Nobody's going to build a roof where looks like that. And all the drawings are only up about 2 feet from the ground and below. You're saying that the 6-foot-tall father in your household drew that was laying on the ground, was drawing on it? No, it was the 3-year-old. So maybe you could apply to get into this contest if you weren't such a rascal drawing on the walls. Now, it may be also that at the age of 3, you can't reason. You can barely talk. You can talk. Let's hope you can talk. But you're not making any soliloquies. You're not saying the family prayer. I mean, you're eating the food. You're living rent-free. I don't know why you're not doing more, but you could start by not drawing on the walls. So there's a start for a 3-year-old. But again, like I say, you can enter. It's perfectly. Basically, anybody can enter. That's what the message. The Des Moines, most beautiful Des Moiner, or beautiful Des Moiner, BDM. So this is a transition that took place in the early 1900s, and that's why when you walk around Des Moines today, it's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful city. It really is, because they took the steps in those days to get away from the muck and the coal dust and the alcohol smell and the people, the smell of people that really didn't ever step 1 foot into the Des Moines River to get a bath. So they'd go 3-4 months without a bath or a shower and stuff. So there was like this 50-foot circle around them because nobody wanted to penetrate their personal space or they'll get knocked out by the smell. But they, it was the frontier, guys. That's just the way it was. It wasn't like today where there's running water in every house or most houses. I mean, if you had a house with running water, people would say, "Ooh, boy, look at this Richie Rich over here with a running water." Next thing you know, you're going to have a water closet that you don't even have to dig out. That's the way it was, guys. And so the city today kind of owes a contribution of thanks to those ladies, for example, from the, the Des Moines Women's Club, who early on looked around and said, man, we got to take things under control because these boys out here, they don't know beauty. They're bringing in money, but they don't know. Just women have a better idea a lot of times than guys, especially in those days. Guys were just, rough and tough and digging coal mines and, what I mean? But the ladies were at home going, whoa, if we want anybody to come to this city and stay, we got to clean it up. And they did. And today they're benefiting from their great work. So, Des Moines Women's Club, hats off to you.